Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film begins, and almost immediately, the plane is hijacked by the terrorist. They end up shooting all the staff, and they don't even spare the pilots. A female cop tried to intervene. She was instantly shot dead, making their intentions clear. They won't hesitate to kill anyone who comes between their mission. The news of the hostage situation gets the National Security Agency, NSA. Deputy Toyin, who was just about to open an envelope to know the outcome of her promotion request, is called and informed about Oceanic Flight 420. She put the letter on her desk and goes into the control room. Before she can make a full assessment of the issues, NSA Director Hawkins arrives to take charge of the situation. Toyin and Hawkins have their own issues, but given the situation, the right call for everybody would be to tackle the problem at hand. Meanwhile, 20 minutes pass, the plane is left with only 77 minutes of fuel. With the failsafe disengaged, the airplane is headed straight for a crash unless a miracle happens. Hawkins gives the orders for Code Orange, even after being requested against him by Deputy Toyin. Toyin constantly tries to reach her agent on board, who is an undercover through a special earpiece device, but before he can respond, he finds the pilot bleeding out from a gunshot wound. He asks the pilot's young son, who was traveling on the plane, to help stop the bleeding while he gets the medical kit to save his life. He asks a passenger to look for a nurse who could tend to the pilot's wounds. The bearded passenger goes around and finds a courageous woman, but yet nervous, who is a nurse to come with him. Meanwhile, the man hides his earpiece and communicates with fellow hijackers in their language, letting others know he is part of the gang. He shows the earpiece only to the nurse, telling her that she has to trust him, as he is an Interpol agent, and keep the pilot alive if any one of them was to get out of the situation alive. She doesn't believe him, but after she sees him wearing a shrapnel locket in memory of his departed son, she develops a fondness and trust for him. The nurse and the bearded man try hard to save the pilot. With the pilot's son sitting right beside his bleeding father, it became a more pressing responsibility. The nurse tells the boy that the hijacker who helped revive his father was actually an agent who would help everyone get out safely. It pisses the agent off, as the more people got to know about his real identity, the more chance there was of the other hijackers also becoming aware of it. For a few moments, it seems as if the pilot would pull through, but when the cabin pressure rises, it becomes an impossibility. Everyone starts feeling dizzy, some even get a severe nosebleed. Goran, one of the hijackers, punctured the hull accidentally when he shot the plane's staff. Within minutes, the pressure could increase drastically, cracking open the windows and resulting in the deaths of everyone aboard. Only the pilot knew how to stabilize the cabin pressure. The agent asks the nurse to give the pilot a jolt to wake him up. The nurse knows that the pilot would die if she woke him up while he was still unstable, but with no choice in hand, she is compelled to take the risk. She administers a combination of different medicines in the form of 2 shots. Indeed, the pilot perishes after the last shot, but not before telling the agent how to stabilize the cabin pressure. The agent successfully manages to save everyone's lives. The pilot's poor son watches his father die right in front of his eyes. He hysterically hits the agent for letting his father die. Losses were something the agent understood. Angry at himself, he goes into the bathroom and punches the mirror. The nurse suspects the reaction and soon reaches up to him to tend to his wounded hand. Both share a vulnerable moment and tell each other about their lives. She insists on taking over the plane. He shows her how to operate the 3D printed gun, telling her to wait for the right time to use it. Back at the NSA control room, it was found that Naznaz was the code word for some spooky end-of-the-world talk going viral on the Ukrainian dark web. For Toyin, the main concern is that Hawkins initiated the Code Orange, which was a signal to send F-22 jets to destroy the plane mid-air using missiles. Toyin instructs Remy, the control room's chief operator, to warn the agent against the jets, divert the plane's trajectory, and dodge those incoming missiles, essentially disobeying Hawkins. She didn't want innocent lives to be taken unless absolutely necessary. Hawkins' plan backfires on him in the end, as the missile from the F-22 hits another plane, killing several innocent people. The debris from the disaster flies at high speed in space and destroys the 2 F-22 jets. Hawkins shamelessly sends a third jet to finish the job, not conceding the fact that he had just created a tragedy and was hell-bent on creating a bigger one. In all this chaos, nobody could pay close attention to the clue that was Naznaz. 2 hijackers, Hanan and Marco, open a safe, checking up on a nuclear warhead whose label reads Naznaz. The end of the world stuff circulating around was, in fact, a reality. The hijackers' plan was to crash the plane, triggering the nuclear weapon of Russian origin to explode. Their theory is that war between America and Russia would give the world a chance to destroy these 2 countries and start anew. Their plan was to usher in a new world devoid of superpowers. Hawkins got lucky that the missile didn't hit Oceanic Flight 420, otherwise, America as he knew it would have ceased to exist. Once the security footage of the loading trolleys of the flight comes in, Hawkins deduces that the plane could be carrying the long-lost, highly volatile nuclear weapons. He calls in Toyin to give her a patronizing pat on the back for resisting Code Orange right from the beginning. He knows that she has applied for a promotion 5 times because she wants to restructure the system and do away with the likes of him, but he warns her that the position comes with its own bed of thorns. He tells her about the time when his daughter was kidnapped due to his superior's orders. Hawkins returns to the control room with a fresh perspective, totally convinced that the only chance he has rests with the agent on the flight. He asks Remy to help the agent install a new failsafe device. He is given the identification of the 5 hijackers. One faceless name rings a bell. That of Enid Slowris. Enid was like a nemesis to Hawkins. Hawkins was aware only of his involvement in Enid's son's death, who had died after Hawkins accidentally blew up an entire school trying to catch his daughter's killer. With only a few minutes of fuel remaining on the plane, chaos engulfed the passengers, and they rose up against the hijackers. The agent stabs Marco and strangles Anand. He is then contacted by Hawkins to enter the cockpit, where Remy will guide him to reinstall the failsafe, and the flight will be rerouted from the control room to the nearest landing strip. The agent successfully installs the failsafe. All he had to do now was punch the authorization code into it. Here came a twist even Hawkins didn't expect. The nurse is told by a dying Marco that, in actuality, he was the Interpol agent, and the one in the cockpit was the gang's leader. The man now in control of the plane was Enid, who had found Marco's earpiece that he lost during the turbulence. He took out his gang members whenever he got the chance because he couldn't ascertain which one of them was the actual traitor. He interacted with the NSA and regained control of the plane with their help, making it possible for him to crash it and detonate the nuclear bomb. Hawkins had destroyed his happy family by taking his son away from him, and now he would take away his entire country. His plan, however, is thwarted by Kim, the nurse, who shoots him and gets in the cockpit to try and steer the plane. In his dying moments, he sees the innocent pilot's son and remembers his own young son, who had died at the hands of a stranger. His conscience awakens, and he realizes that the chain of revenge should stop with him. Realizing that the autopilot couldn't reach the designated faraway airport, he gets in the cockpit and helps Kim manually land the plane on a nearby private runway, just seconds before the fuel runs out, helping her avoid the nuclear tragedy. After the successful mission, Toyin finds her 6th rejection waiting for her in the envelope she left on her desk. Hawkins, however, resigns and lets her take the lead. The end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos updates. Turn on the notifications and leave a like to help the channel.